In the ancient folds of time, when the universe was still young and trembling with untamed power, the world trembled beneath the weight of chaos. Mortals had only just begun to speak in full sentences, to worship the skies and rivers, to hope for peace. But peace had become a distant memory, for something monstrous had been set loose, a being so dangerous, even the gods whispered his name with caution. His name was Rataba, a demon with a terrifying gift. Rataba's strength did not lie in brute force alone. It came from a terrible boon. For every drop of his blood that fell to the earth, 100 more of him would rise. Every time he was wounded, the battlefield filled with more of his copies, multiplying endlessly, drowning entire kingdoms beneath waves of his own fury. Armies rose and fell. Warriors, sages, kings, they all tried. None succeeded. His blood fed the war itself. The gods, desperate to stop him, turned to Durga, the great warrior goddess who had once tamed mountains and destroyed dragons. Mounted on her lion, she stormed into battle with celestial weapons and divine light. For a moment, hope flickered again. But even Durga, sharp, fearless, radiant, could not defeat a foe who became stronger with every strike. She cut him, pierced him, burned him, and with each wound, the blood sprayed and seeded countless more demons across the earth. As Durga fought, her fury deepened, and with it, something new began to stir within her, a darker power, one that had always existed deep inside, but until now had never been called upon. And when the blood-soaked battlefield reached its breaking point, that power could no longer be contained. From the center of her brow, born of divine wrath and sacred necessity, emerged a being unlike any the world had ever seen. She was not calm. She was not soft. She was Kali. Kali arrived in a storm of black and crimson. Her skin was darker than night, absorbing all light around her. Her hair flowed like a river of shadows, wild and endless. Her eyes burned with a fire that seemed older than time. And unlike the radiant calm of other deities, Kali carried no softness. She was rage in its purest form, divine, untamed, and absolute. As soon as she set foot on the battlefield, the world felt it. Mountains trembled, winds howled, even the demons paused, but only for a second. Then Kali moved. With a scream that split the sky, she tore through the hordes of Rataba's clones. She didn't fight with caution or grace. She fought like a storm, tearing, ripping, devouring. Every time Rataba's blood was spilled, she caught it, with hands, with tongue, with teeth. She did not let a single drop touch the ground. She knew the curse of his blood. She would not let it feed the enemy again. The gods watched in awe and fear. This was not the power they were used to. This was something deeper, older, primal. It was a part of creation itself, a side rarely seen, but always present. The side that burns forests to give birth to new ones. The side that destroys in order to preserve. As Kali fought, the copies of Rataba vanished one by one. Without his blood to multiply, the demon had no defense. And finally, after a battle that felt like it had lasted for centuries, he was gone. But something had changed. The war was over, yet Kali didn't stop. She had destroyed the threat. The demon was gone. The earth had been saved, but she was still burning. She no longer saw enemies. She saw movement, and instinct drove her to attack. Her eyes didn't recognize friend from foe, only the rhythm of destruction. The power that had been called forth to save the world had now begun to unravel it. She charged through villages, temples, forests, not out of hatred, but because the fire inside her had no place to go. The power was too great, too raw, and once awakened, it refused to sleep again. The very ground split beneath her feet. Winds turned black. The gods, once cheering her name, now trembled at her shadow. No one could stop her. Not Brahma, not Vishnu, not even Durga, who had birthed her. Kali had become a force beyond reason. Not evil, just uncontainable. The embodiment of cosmic rage, unshaped by purpose. The world had only just escaped one destruction, and now stood on the edge of another. But in the far distance, on a quiet mountain peak, someone watched all of this unfold. He had known it would come to this. He understood the dance of balance, the rise of power, the weight of chaos, and the silence needed to restore it. That someone was Shiva. He was not afraid. He never was. He had meditated through the birth of galaxies and the deaths of stars. Now he would rise, not to fight her, not to destroy her, but to bring her back. Not with force, but with stillness. Shiva left the silence of his mountain and stepped into the heart of chaos. Below him, the earth groaned under Kali's fury. Her feet stamped with the weight of destruction, her hair wild like a tempest, her tongue drenched in the last remnants of battle. No one could reach her. But Shiva didn't try to reach her with words. He did not call her name. He did not shout over the noise. He simply walked into her path and lay down. Flat on his back, arms outstretched, bare chest rising with each breath. He offered himself not as a warrior, but as ground, as earth, as the stillness she had forgotten. Kali charged forward, blinded by fury, her feet pounding with unstoppable force, until suddenly she stepped on something that wasn't soil, but skin, warm, alive, and familiar. The moment her foot touched Shiva's chest, something inside her broke, not out of guilt, not out of shame, but recognition. This was not a demon. This was not a threat. This was Shiva, the eternal balance to her storm. And in that moment, the fire that had raged uncontrollably within her began to dim. Her eyes, once wild and red, softened. Her breath slowed. The fog lifted. She stood still. The battlefield fell silent. The gods watched, stunned. No weapons had been raised, no spells cast. Yet the destruction had ended, not with a blow, but with surrender. Kali stood frozen, one foot on the chest of the one she loved, the one who understood her better than anyone else. Shiva didn't speak. He didn't need to. Just his presence, his calm, his stillness, was enough to pull her back from the edge. Enough to remind her that she was more than destruction, that her rage had purpose, but not without balance. Slowly, she stepped back. The fire in her eyes dimmed to embers. Her breathing steadied. And for the first time since the battle began, she saw clearly. She saw the devastation she had caused, not as punishment, not as regret, but as clarity. She had been the hand of divine rage. Necessary, yes. But now, the world needed something else. It needed healing. From Shiva's quiet gaze, she understood. Her role wasn't just to destroy, it was to protect. To end evil, yes, but also to protect what remained. Her fury, once uncontrolled, now became watchful, purposeful, tethered to the heartbeat of the universe through him. In the stories that followed, Kali would always remain a symbol of power, of fearlessness, of the deep ancient rage that no god or demon could command. But she was no longer chaos. She had been seen. She had been stilled. She had become whole. And as she and Shiva walked away from the ruins, together, side by side, the world exhaled, the skies cleared, the earth rested, and the gods bowed not out of fear, but reverence, for they had witnessed something rare, not the battle between two forces, but the harmony born when fury meets love and chaos meets peace.